Hello everyone and welcome to JP Creation, and in this lecture I am going to talk about different ways to create an object. So in modeling we can create an object using two ways. First is using polygon primitive or polyprimitive, and second is using nubs. So we also say nubs as curves and surface. It's mentioned here curves and surface means this all options are for nubs. And second one is polygon primitive means polymodeling, here it's mentioned, and this all options are used for primitive. As a primitive we can use these options. So if we want any of the object, we can create the object directly from the shelf. So this is called shelf. If we want to create any of the object, we can directly create from this shelf, and this all are shelf. So in polymodeling, if we click on any of the primitive, it will appear directly in the viewport. If the object is not selected, we can select the object using select tool. So we have to come here and click on the select tool and then drag and make a selection of the primitive. If we don't want the primitive, we can delete it after selecting. So select the object and press delete on the keyboard. We can also create using menus. So in menu we have to click on create tab, then on polygon primitive, and then click on whatever primitive you want. So I will click on the sphere, so it will appear in the viewport. Using these two ways we can create any of the primitive. So when we click on the menu create, then in polygon primitive there is an option called interactive creation. Making this option on, and now if we click on any of the icon from here or from the shelf, it will not appear in the viewport. Now we will have to click and drag the mouse to make the primitive appear in the viewport. In this way we can create an object. Now we can create the cube. In first click and drag, it will create a surface. On second click and drag, we can give the height to the cube in positive or negative direction. So we will give the height upward. In this way we can create a cube. To make any changes in the cube, we have to go to the channel box and layer editor. So we can get the channel box here on the right hand side. Click on the channel box. If it doesn't appear in this way, we can click on the channel box. In channel box, we get translate value. So we can select this translate and make the value 0 so that the cube will appear in the middle of the grid. In rotation, we can change the value, and in scale also we can change the value. If we make the scale 3, it will scale in Y direction. So we can set this default. If we want to make any of the changes in the cube, we will get all the parameters of the cube by clicking on the poly cube. So we have to click here, then here we'll get the width. To change the value, we have to just click on the width and then mid scroll click on the viewport and drag right or left to change the value. In the same way, we can add subdivisions in width, height and depth by clicking on the option and mid scroll click on the viewport and drag right and left. While we change the subdivisions in the width, by using this option, I can click on the viewport, and if I increase the number of subdivisions, the maximum I can do is 50, not more than that. But if I want 100 subdivisions in width, I will have to click on the value and then write 100 and press enter on the keyboard. So in this way, we can create the number of subdivisions we want in a primitive. So now we will keep it as 1. So this was the way how we can create an object by our own. and the second was making this interactive creation off.